All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Oh, is that Ron?
That's Ron.
Ron, how you doing? I had to put my glasses on to see who that was.
There we go.
Do we want to start with the fire truck scenario?
Sure. I haven't, Jonna has reached out to Bank of New Hampshire. We haven't heard back from them yet. I have reached out to Christy Goodson at Northway. She's someone we've used previously. We talked about reaching out to Citizens and Union. Citizens, Jonna says, is a little bit harder for us to get results in a timely fashion because she has to go up to like the corporate, kind of division.
Yeah.
Whereas the local kind of Bank of New Hampshire banks that we already have relationships with.
Union Bank and Bank of New
Yeah,
Hampshire.
so we have yet to hear back, but we have reached out and hopefully we'll hear back before, end of year. And I think that's really gonna be, if that's the best way to go about it. I do like the idea that, that OJ brought up at Monday night, the idea of keeping that money in the capital reserve because we know we're gonna need it and, not too long.
Right. As a whole, that capital reserve is underfunded. Can we, for now, put this in as a full warrant, bond article? For 760?
Minus what's in the capital reserve.
No.
Okay.
And then take what's in the capital reserve and put that into some of these other vehicles that we're not saving enough each year in time to buy. Put them down there, and then that can relax the amount that we have to put in that maybe for the next few years anyway.
Gotcha.
As we're paying for the,
Trying to make an
for
adjustment.
the bond on the first.
So we're gonna need better prices, estimates on those other vehicles before.
On everything,
On everything.
Well, just
Next-
specifically these for town meeting.
right,
For the next
capital improvement.
CIP meetings, you'll need our. Yeah,
Every
agreed.
department has a very-
Yeah, I think that-
Update their existing entity or the existing items that are in the current CIP.
Yeah.
Give us today's cost. really.
Well, and I think to be fair to the department heads, that we should probably do that like prior to the CIP meeting,
Oh,
like
no
rather
question.
it like
Okay.
after town meeting, let's
Yes.
say June, July, before we start meeting in August, we say,
Exactly.
start updating your numbers because
Yeah.
in a month from
it's-
now, we're gonna want.
And I want to stress that it's not that they haven't been doing their job.
Oh, absolutely not.
It had
It's-
everything to
right,
do with
no,
the current economy changing so quickly as
Absolutely.
it did. Things have just skyrocketed.
Skyrocketed,
Yeah.
right, and they're so
And-
volatile that we
Right.
just need to have, we're
Exactly.
just shooting ourselves in the foot if we're not having current numbers.
Right.
You'd rather be over prepared than under prepared, even if
So-
they're higher.
Ron's listening, but before town meeting and before actually the budget hearing, budget meetings, we're gonna need more updated prices on some of these other vehicles as well. If we're gonna get this past the budget committee and to the voters.
The full bond amount
Yeah.
versus the
Right.
taking our what we have. in
Right, but
capital
if we're gonna
reserves.
get them, the budget committee to agree to have a bond on that and to take that, whatever is allocated for that right now, 214,
214.
and divide it between the other ones to start. We're
Yeah.
gonna need those current figures sooner rather than later. So there you go, Ron, you got some homework. Especially
Yeah,
the-
the thing about that though is it took months to nail down the actual spec and everything. What I can do is I can talk with those manufacturers and what the average price is for,
Yeah.
a tanker pumper and a ladder truck.
Yeah, get a generic quote. We don't need
Yeah.
specs.
All of them,
Right.
but a generic quote, not a base quote. I don't wanna know the base model, I wanna know what one outfitted
Mhm.
is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. That's the way I'd approach it. Yep.
Makes sense, yeah.
So Ryan will be busy when he gets done with vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so
The-
I will get the numbers then for the full bond amount, because I think we asked for, both, either the 405 or the 719, from both, so.
Okay.
Yeah, but the 719, if we don't buy it until 2023.
It's gonna be
760.
740, yeah, or, right.
I'd say I would put it into 760.
Okay,
And when we get the requote, the updated quote in
Yeah.
2023, well, we could tweak that.
sure.
Can you amend a bond article on the floor? You can't, you have to do it before the bond hearing.
You have to do it.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure.
I'm not
No.
sure. I don't think.
I don't think you
Can
can. but you
after the
can-
bond hearing.
If we bond 760 and it's only 740, we can use the 20 for the first payment of that bond.
Well, I think if
Towards the
you
first
bond 760. Well, we won't take the bond out. We just need bond authorization. We won't take the bond out until we know exact
Right,
amount
what
of
it costs.
money and what it costs. And we don't have, they don't like you saying up to on the
No.
warrant articles, but you don't have to
So
take
you
out
have
seven
until the
sixty.
first week of February to get that number, because we have to have a bond hearing.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if you have authorization to bond $760,000.
Yes.
And the quote for the truck comes in at 740, we can then bond 740. We can't bond.
But you can amend it on the floor, but you can bond less.
You
I
can
get what
bond
you're
less,
saying.
yes.
Okay,
If
yeah,
you
that
have
makes sense.
authorization
Okay.
to bond 760, they're gonna let you bond
Okay,
740.
yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so on the front page of warrant article page, under E1 pumper, cross out year one.
Okay, hold on last page, right, capital warrant.
I put it up front, but.
Okay.
That's what I said.
First, it's our last
No one else
page.
has it on there.
It says it on the last page.
All right, so we're gonna change that from 94,600 to 760.
What page?
Last page.
No, because we will have bond authorization, but we'll raise and appropriate the amount we need for the first year's payment. So it won't be 760.
That's right. And you have bond fees, whether you go to the bond bank or the bank, you can have. some
Yeah,
fees.
we're gonna have, right, you're gonna need bond counsel, we're gonna need like a,
So you'll have that, you'll get that figure. It'll be more
we're
than,
gonna have to start moving on that figure, yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right, because you have the bond authorization to bond X number of dollars
And
and
then
then
the
you raise
payments
and
are gonna be,
appropriate the amount for the first
First
year's
year's payment.
payment, right? So we don't necessarily have to change that to 706, I don't think.
what do you mean? 706, you mean 760?
760, yeah, sorry. I'll double check.
I think what you said is right. We have to, the warrant article has to be 760.
Mhm.
And then if we want, not if we want, we should put the bond fees on top of that.
Mhm.
If we think we're going through the bond bank. I mean, if we're going through a local bank. We
We'll
don't
still have to get bond counsel, yeah.
just have to get counsel.
You have to have an opinion, like a bond opinion, the bank
Okay.
usually wants. But that shouldn't be an issue. I'm sure you
Alright.
guys have had to do it every time.
Yeah.
We
that's
do,
fine now.
yeah, and
And then the first year's payment
And then raise and appropriate the first year's payment, right,
in a different article or in the same one?
in the same way.
Okay. So,
but the number here. Should be set the 760,
plus the first year's payment.
plus the first year's payment. Well, that should go into long-term debt.
That will,
actually.
yeah,
That should
yeah.
go into long-term debt.
Okay,
Change with that
okay,
is how we do that.
perfect.
And then there would be offsetting revenue. Of 760 from the bond proceeds.
Yeah,
An offsetting revenue will be sale of the current vehicle too.
Well, we can,
We could
yeah,
guess,
that will be, yes, there's a line item for that. It's like sale of municipal property or something. That's where that would go into it. Okay, so right, 760 and then plus. For the bond proceeds and then plus first year's payment. And under long-term debt.
I had a question when I was going over this on. In planning and zoning, we took. Ryan's half of his salary out of there.
Correct.
half of his salary is in fire department,
Correct,
and where is the other half? of
an
it?
executive. Because that's where code enforcement previously was, and that's what his primary responsibility, I would say, is right now is code enforcement. So, that's where Ron was also, part of Ron's salary was
Right.
being taken from, and
Right.
now it's no longer being taken from, so we moved Ryan over there. Perfect.
Okay.
I don't know
didn't see
why.
that- I didn't see that because executive wages only went up $6,000.
Because all of. Ron's-
Because all of Ron's is not being taken out of there
No.
anymore.
All of Ron's is in it.
Well, half, Ron was being
Okay.
split, half fire, half executive,
Which was
Yeah.
more
and
than
now,
Ron-
now
yeah.
Ron's only fire.
Okay,
From where he's getting a stipend per month, it's only coming out of fire. And now Ryan has been moved over
right.
to kind of absorb those funds.
All right, that was one question I had. Oh, and then the other one was on the library.
I was able to figure out, so with the wages,
Yeah,
yes, okay, so I have that in front of me. They are proposing.
number 22, if you want to read along. They're proposing,
They're proposing I was correct in that they're proposing an 8% increase for Carol Riley, and they're proposing a $2 increase for their other full-time employee.
And what does, do you know what the percentage, that $2 increase?
It's quite high. I did calculate it out, but I obviously forgot to write it down. I think it was like 15 or 20%, but I will say that that other employee is currently making $13.84 an hour. So I think that $2 is probably extremely fair.
I don't disagree.
I would say that's fine.
I have a hard time, not that Carol does not deserve 80% raise, in my opinion. I have a hard time approving and or saying, oh, I'm okay with that, to an 8% raise for one employee and a 6% for everyone else. I just have a hard time with it. I mean, I don't want to change that because then well, no employee should be getting $13 an hour. I don't care what they're doing. So that $2 increase is definitely warranted. I don't disagree at all.
It is the library trustees budget that goes to the budget committee.
It is the library
So-
trustees
so-
budget, right?
I just wanted to know what the percentage is.
Yeah.
So that it's clear when the budget committee sees it, what the percentage is.
Right.
They can discuss.
And that can be,
This
Part
is
of
a
the
hard one
discussion.
because years ago, there was the same thing. There was a 10% or something. I forget what it was. It was more than what we were proposing for a wage increase percentage. And we lowered it. We lowered the bottom line to reflect that
Mhm.
amount.
Mhm.
And
It's a 14% increase, just. so you know.
which is needed. I get it. that there's-
what, the $2 one?
Yeah.
I'm not.
But there's no way to
Yeah.
lower all of, I mean, there's no way to lower
Suspend 16.
one, but
Yeah,
not all of it, so I don't wanna do that, do you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain. We can't lower it by 2% to make it a 6% because then it affects the other, so I can't,
That's what others.
the $2. Do you know what I mean? Carol's getting an 8% raise proposed. Every other employee in town is proposed at 6.
Right, and
But there's no way to lower that regular wage budget by 2% to bring Carol down to 6 without affecting the $2 raise, which is warranted. In other words, our hands are tied. We can't lower this.
we
bottom line.
can't, first of all, we can't,
Bottom line, yes, we can. We've done it before.
we can do the bottom line.
Yes, yes.
But I don't, it doesn't have to affect the part-time person.
She's not part-time, she's full-time.
I think, Tammy, what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is if there's $100,000 in the budget for salary, you want to see 80 for Carol and 20,000 for the other one. But if we lower the budget, you're thinking that the 20,000 for the lower wage worker is going to get cut down to 18,000.
Well,
or 16,000.
to be honest, you could lower the budget and they could take it from
they'll-
supply.
They did it, that's what they did anyway.
They
It
could,
just,
They can
Yes.
disperse it.
Right.
As they want,
The
it's just
contract
this weekend.
is that there's one employee shouldn't be getting,
That's the
More than the other.
trustees, that's the trust, oh,
Right.
sorry. The trustees decide
I know.
how much to pay
Uh-huh.
once the final budget is.
Yep.
is-
the taxpayers still pay it. It doesn't make it fair. That's all I'm saying.
We can
But there's
give the
not anything we
budget
can really
committee
do
an
about it.
opinion on the total amount. And that would be all I'd want to do, but it'd just be an opinion, and you can carry that to the budget committee verbally.
Yeah. We have lowered the whole thing before. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
We can't do it this time. And it's kind of.
We can do it this
We
time,
can do it this,
because then
they
they,
still can spend the money however they want.
Tammy, we're gonna give, Timmy, we're gonna give authorization to expend
I know.
100,000.
I-
They can say Jack Daly's gonna get 80,000 and you're gonna get
I know.
20, or they
That's
can
what they
say you're
did.
gonna get 20.
And that's what they did.
And that's what their job
Yeah.
is, that's
Right.
that's how it works, I mean,
Yes, dear.
okay,
All right. Yeah.
we, I guess.
Love it.
Tilly,
Okay,
you want
we
to?
have the police department budget. for
I think you
Why do we
should
have
move
that?
on.
Yes, let's move on.
Police department, you have, just
Holy
because you
cow.
made changes at the last one, and I just wanted to give you an updated clean copy.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the packet I gave you was the only, the changes that we made at the last meeting, just to have clean
Gotcha.
copies.
Thank you
You're welcome.
for that. And I do want to reiterate that I believe Carol is worth an 80% raise, not an 8% raise. It's just the fairness of it. We also have Public Works in front of us. Is that just a clean copy? Is
Yeah,
it?
it's just a clean copy. We, at the last meeting, you decided to take up the insurance.
Insurances.
So we took out the insurance, we reduced the insurance because we didn't really think we needed that much. The only budget we kept the insurance in is for the recreation because it's split,
Split.
right?
I'm sorry, community building.
Community building, right, because of the split.
Recreation is us. And then they build.
No, the recreation. Right? I'm trying to think.
You're right. It's the Kank building itself. It's not. You're right. You're right.
Okay,
You're right.
yeah, because community building
Yeah.
doesn't have any vehicles.
Community.
Like the vehicles are owned by the.
Recreation. Yep, you're right. Community building, that complete budget is 50/50, and with recreation, it's only the operating cost, not main operating cost, so yeah.
And then I just, I just put $2,000 in there versus, just so we had enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
PD has their, do they have a deductible line?
I moved it all into the insurance line from the last.
So
meeting.
just the 2,000.
Just the 2,000 and then Kara's got one, for 1,000,
Sure,
so
perfect.
3 total, but.
Right.
We figured hopefully choose.
How about people just not get into car accidents?
I know, but when they're on the road 24 hours a day, in some cases, that's nearly impossible.
Yeah. I get it.
Especially with the weather that we have, This town actually fares very well.
Absolutely.
I would say
I
the
think
amount
we do
of
well.
property and liability claims, workman comp claims that
Yep.
we see here is fewer than I've seen in other communities.
That's great. That's great. We have great employees. We really truly, we're very lucky. That we have such good staff members. I would agree.
Do you have anything else to talk about on the fire truck side?
No, I think I have a directive. I'm gonna get, we'll get quotes. Now knowing we're gonna go for the full 760 and see what that looks like. And then we'll just have to, if that's the route we're going now, who holds the bond hearing? The selectmen?
Selectmen do.
Okay,
We usually schedule that
The same.
the same night as
The pu-
the budget hearing, and we do it first.
okay. I just didn't.
That's
know
been the
that.
tradition for,
Why call people out to?
No, I mean, and they go hand in hand.
they do it.
Yeah.
We have our selectmen meeting with the bond hearing, we adjourn, the budget committee sits down, has the budget hearing.
Okay, I'll just have to line up the dates and pick one and that's the
They
way
have
we'll
them
go, if
picked.
that's the way,
They have them picked.
Yeah, I believe the budget committee has.
Right,
Yeah.
but we have to have it done by a certain date, the
Right.
first one, so I'm gonna have to pick the date that's, obviously prior to.
I think they work.
the deal.
Yeah, I double check,
Okay,
but I looked and I think they work even if we had a bond.
okay,
The first public hearing would be Thursday, February 2nd.
okay, yeah.
And the
it's
second one is
usually
the following Thursday, if needed. But yeah.
I'm sure it will.
I looked at to make sure in case we had a bond for anything. And I believe it did work. But please double check it.
Thursday, February 2nd, okay. I think it's right, because I think it's February 9th or something weird that the first one has to be done by.
Right. And this, and the second one is on February 9th because that was the,
Oh, I can
The
the
latest.
latest, because like on my computer. Okay, I think fire truck wise, I think I'm good.
All right, then do we want to talk about the town building? Is there anything else on the budget that we need to talk
Yeah,
about?
yeah, you want to talk about the SRO position?
oh yeah, the
The other
warrant
kind of
items, yeah.
special warrant articles that we know we're gonna,
You have all the numbers for collective bargaining. What's the next 2 years, do you know?
I'll tell you right now.
Because they have to be on there as well.
Yeah, but we don't have to raise and appropriate them.
No, but we just have to put them in
I
there.
know, yeah. Um, Okay, so. So for CBA for the collective bargaining agreement, the first year is a big year, it's that 86, right, or 84.
84, 983.
I opened the wrong spreadsheet, sorry. Because I got 300 of them. 84, the 24 goes to 39,000, and why you see that
39
huge-
even?
39, 110 or 111, because it's 110 change.
Okay.
111.
And then the
third year.
25 is 61, 164.
So 84 to 39 to 61.
That's because next year, or in 25 will be the first full, or 24 will be the first full year of New Hampshire retirement system reduction in
Oh,
their
gotcha.
percentage that we have to pay. In the police, which is our big one, drops 2%. So our retirement expenditures are significantly reduced from 23 to 24, and that's why you're seeing that
Gotcha,
big
gotcha.
swing. If the retirement numbers stayed the same, it would be 84, 61. And
59
then,
or
yeah,
something, yeah.
you'll
yeah,
see it's
Yeah.
more gradual, but because of that reduction by that 2%
Yeah,
in the group
okay.
2 employees. Because John and I looked at this spreadsheet for days trying to figure out why that discrepancy was so big.
Gotcha.
Because we were like, that's gotta be an error. It's.
Right.
But then we plugged in the new retirement numbers and we're like, there you go,
Bingo.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
So.
Okay,
So that's for the CBA, and then we also have to do 3 months of 26. In the warrant article, that's what you guys did last time. I don't know why, but
3 months of 20.
yeah, because the collective bargaining agreement won't take effect until April 1 of 26, the new one.
has to cover January,
So
February.
it has to
March.
cover
So you
January,
have to
February.
fund it.
So you have to do
So
those.
what is that amount?
13,425.
Wait a minute,
We never put that on there.
It is, I just pulled 19.
Really?
It's
It's on
3
there.
months of 19,
Okay,
3 months of
Oh, oh, oh.
23.
so
so in the warrant, we're gonna be asking or for the 84, 983, and then letting everybody know that it's also 39, 110,
And
61,
24.
164, and 13,
13,
425.
You got it.
13,425?
Yes.
Okay.
So is this 84, 983 for 2023 minus the first 3 months that we
So
already?
we are waiting confirmation from DRA on that, because in the last warrant article in 19, when you did it, you accounted for 13,031 for 23, the first 3 months of 23. But technically you didn't raise and appropriate those funds. You just told them that that's what it was
So
gonna
DRA
be.
is gonna give you.
So we need to
clarification.
figure out from DRA if we need to reduce it by that 13,000, and that would be
Right,
72,615 or 616. So
Sure.
I need to know for confirmation wise.
so we're just waiting for an answer.
We're just waiting for it.
Perfect.
So the question you're asking is, can you use funds that were unexpended, basically leftover funds?
No,
To offset?
no, so the last time the CBA agreement was voted in at town meeting, you voted in, same as we were gonna do this year, to raise and appropriate the increase for this year. And then you told them, expect, this will be the expected increase in this year, this will be the expected increase in this year. And then you said, and in 2013 or 2023, this is what 3 months will cost you, the expected increase. But no money was raised and appropriated for that purpose. It was just an estimate of
Right,
what
right.
it's gonna look like. So I still think we have to raise and
I
appropriate
think so too.
the full amount, the
that,
full
for-
increase,
for that.
because it was just this is the expected increase.
Okay.
Right, and we don't have to have a warrant article every year.
Oh, no, every 3 years.
Right,
You're right.
we just have to let them know that the next 2 years,
Yeah, next year
Gonna
it's
be
just gonna
this,
be included
right,
in the operating
right, right,
budget.
right,
The
right.
following year, just be included in the operating budget. I think you're gonna have to do the full number, because you never
Probably.
raised and and
Yeah, no.
appropriated it. You just said this is gonna be the estimate in
I
23.
wonder if in 2019, that was the full amount. It had to have been not minus the 3 months.
I don't know.
So is the 84,983? What it's gonna cost us for 9 months of this?
No,
When does the
no,
new contract start?
the new contract starts April
April
1.
1 this year. I mean, next year.
Okay, so
Right.
we only need 9 months of pay increase for that year, is that correct?
That is correct. So, and that would be the 72,616.
Yeah.
So we just gotta wait for DRA to.
Yeah, like I said, this is my first time with the CBA and I just want to have
Okay.
DRA say, this is how you're supposed to do it, and then that's how we'll do it. Forever and ever. But I have both of those figures either way, so at least we know what we're working with.
When you get back an opinion from them, would you send it out to us?
Sure.
Put that in our records too. See.
And then what was the other number you asked me for?
SRO
SRO,
is 38 on our sheet.
okay, so 38, so
With 19 of offsetting revenue, correct?
with 19, so that is purely arbitrary right now, it's
'Cause
just,
we don't- right,
because
we
we
don't
don't have
want to
anything,
pay-
right?
Right.
But obviously, we'd have to gross appropriate it because they're gonna be our employee, we're gonna be paying everything, and then we're gonna get the revenue on the other side.
Okay, so and that obviously is a low number, so are they gonna start like in September or what's?
When you,
We're gonna have to, March is when we vote on this, then we have to put it out, assuming it passes, we have to find a person to do that, which will take a while,
Well, it could come from in-house.
that's true.
I think. it
I
would
think-
come from-
I think we have to, when Chad and I looked at the grant agreement, I think we have to have them hired, I think it was a July 1 hire date, so I think it's 6 months out of the year
6 months.
that we're proposing, yes.
For the first year.
For the first year, because total cost of that employee proposed annual wage, Chad was saying. Just as an estimate, 60,000 as a, kind of base point, but the grant will only pay. 49,572. They only, the grant will only pay what it is for a base employee coming in, like a step 1 employee coming in, and Chad said that. He doesn't see that happening. He sees someone coming in because they've had a couple more years experience, or potentially someone that we already have, where he can't start them at that base, so we're gonna have to absorb that difference. So what we're calculating it at is a 60, as an estimate, a $60,000 annual salary.
All right,
Can you commingle funds there if we hired in-house? And we've already got, X amount in benefit package, can we take the benefit package and apply it to the salary that we're getting from the grant?
Well, this would be salary and benefits for
Okay.
a full
All
employee.
right.
So it's a full package for a full employee. It includes Medicare, New Hampshire retirement, insurance, the whole kit and caboodle. So if we
Chad's
are,
figuring about 60,000 for that.
well, that's the annual wage. The total for the employee is 108 if you include retirement and all that good stuff. That would be the total cost over the year.
okay,
Over 1 year, so the benefit package is 48,000.
Well, you got yeah, well, I mean, and payroll taxes, but you got health insurance, you're assuming that it's a family, you gotta assume for the worst, you assume it's for a family plan, which is $26,000 a year on the police side. New Hampshire retirement's 20 grand a year, insurance, deductible, all that stuff, you get to a $94,000 under the grants. Actually, I think I have a copy of it, you guys can now see what I'm looking at, so not, yeah, not. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
So this is the breakdown that we did based on an estimate. So the first line is obviously year one. In the yellow, and you got 23, and you got the reimbursable wage, and then you got the proposed wage. So you'll see what the grant will pay for, and then you'll see what the town will have to pay for, and then the difference. But now that we're talking through this, that number on our budget sheet is gonna have to change, because that number on our budget sheet is gonna have to reflect everything in the gross figure.
We're splitting the cost with the school.
We don't know what that formula looks like yet. We put in a 50-50 split just for now, but Chad's been meeting with the school board and Judy.
Judy.
To come up with some sort of MOU or
The school board authorized the superintendent to negotiate an MOU. To take for the school to pay the percentage that the officers at school. So 180 days is how many weeks? Because it's only 5 days a week, not, and it's different.
Roughly
So
50%.
yeah, it's more. It's more.
So they're
What is
basically,
what? School
what
board?
percentage of them, of him or her that they use, they pay for that.
Correct.
I'm good with
Yeah.
that. We pay.
Correct.
right. So I think the reason why we did 50-50, because for simple math, it was like, there's 180 days of school and there's 365 days in a year and
50%.
That, so
50%.
But you have to take like
But
weekends out.
and
and
right,
stuff.
well, we're gonna take the bulk of
Yeah.
that, fortunately.
Since you're out here, can I get you to sign the reimbursement for the fourth quarter of the trust funds?
Absolutely.
I
Sure.
get that cleaned up before the end of the year.
Sure. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. So we don't know that figure yet. Hopefully we'll have that figure by the time we get to town meeting, but you're right. This figure in our budget doesn't count because that's not gross.
no, it should be the gross amount, and then there should be 2 offsetting revenues, one from
One
the
from the
grant.
school, one from the grant, right? Okay, so this has got to be, this 38 is really gonna be 108. Right? Or closer to it.
Yeah, 108, 731.
Mhm. But I guess we're gonna have to get Chad and Judy, we're gonna have to get something scheduled soon to get that locked in, because we gotta know what we're proposing at town meeting, right? I mean, we gotta know.
Yeah, they need to know what they're doing for district meeting, which is the week after town meeting also.
Mhm.
So.
Okay.
So yeah, they're gonna want it just as quickly as you are.
And we almost feel like that could almost be. It's gonna be almost like the collective bargaining agreement where you're gonna say this is for 3 years. And this is
Yeah,
the cost for the 3 years, right? I mean, it's gonna be a similar format because it's the grant and that grant percentage changes year over year, so.
right.
I guess I gotta contact DRA on.
Yeah,
that.
right on that one, because I don't know how to do that one.
Okay.
And an estimate of
Row, DRA.
offsetting revenue is, I mean, be nice to have that information, but I don't think we wouldn't have to post that, but.
Yeah, well, I have that calculated out on the sheet, so if it stays at the 50-50, you'll see what their, their share coming in, what the grant will cover, and then what the school share would be.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, then the other 2 things that are on here, the new police cruiser for 61,857.
Yep.
We do it every year, but that's $9,000 higher than the one we bought last year.
Yep.
And I know cost prices are going crazy, so. And highway block grant of 30,000.
Yeah, and that's, we
That's
don't,
just the estimate and we
That's
adjust
just- yeah,
it
yeah,
when
exactly.
they tell us what that real number is.
Right.
But it's always,
Right.
it's usually within a few $1,000s.
yeah, I think it's ranges from like 30 to 35 at most, yeah.
Yeah. So. All right, is there anything else on the budget besides the big thing?
No, I think those are all kind of the,
I did. I always have to go home and think before I can process
from Monday night,
for Monday night.
yes.
So I used Monday night's budget, which is a little different than what the adjusted one is, but within $3,000 on a $7 million budget, I'm not gonna care.
Okay.
The increase of this budget over last year for operating, I'm not talking about specials and
Mhm.
one out of it, but just the operating budget is $316,000, which represents 4.25%.
Right.
However, the revenue increase, again, from departments, not from grants, bonds, just
Yeah.
department stuff, is up 98,000. So that means our real net increase is $218,000, which is less than 3%.
Pretty good in a year where inflation is
Oh,
9%.
my goodness, yeah.
Okay, if you then say, okay, what are the things in this budget that we, I don't want to say can't change, but have very little discretionary control of? And I chose that to be insurance, electric, fuel, propane, oil, streetlights, and debt. And then I also added in payroll and personnel administration. Knowing that payroll is, in order to keep the employees, we're gonna have to pay them what these numbers are. I didn't add in the 72 from the bargaining group because I didn't know what that number was. But if you add up all of those things, it's 245. If you add the 72 into it, it then becomes 325. So of the $218,000 net increase, 325 of it, in other words, way more than all of it,
Beyond your.
is really, I mean, without eliminating employees or not buying fuel and propane or shutting off the streetlights,
Right,
there's nothing we can
or
do.
having no insurance.
So I think we should present this budget to the budget committee with that approach, okay?
Mhm.
You know, not that they can't cut, not that we don't want their advice, but in the big picture, let's see what we're looking at here.
Mhm.
Right.
We're looking at a budget that if you take the increase in expenses,
Mhm.
deduct the increase that we're gonna get in revenue, and look at the hard costs that we really can't change, there's not a whole lot here. Again, go through and look and make
Right,
changes and suggestions. I think the more people that put their eyes on it, the better. But we're really gonna, if we're gonna really cut the budget, we're gonna lose employees.
Right.
yeah,
Either singular that, okay, we're gonna eliminate a position to cut the budget.
Right.
Or we're gonna cut everybody's wage to a point we're gonna lose them
right.
through other means.
Well, and I also think you got, what did we do with this budget? We added employees, you know, like with this increase, we actually added.
Right.
We have a whole
Right.
new employee.
We have a whole new in the solid waste.
We're in rec department.
More.
We have more in active
Seasonal.
right? If you factor those in, I mean,
Right,
this budget, I think, is is as tight as it can get. You know, I think it's conservative, I think it's fair, I think it's fair to our employees, and I think it gives us the resources we need to do our job, and I also think it
To run the
takes.
town effectively and efficiently.
Right, I do, and I think it's, you know, even if you look at the bottom line, not just the operating, you look at the grand total at a 5% increase. That increases what we're putting in savings, that increases, you know, I mean, it's gonna be higher than this 5% when we start adding in those changes that we did today, but. I think we did a lot with what we were given last year, and I think we're, you know, being conservative and fair moving forward. Or reasonable moving forward.
And I think one thing that you did, which was great, was, you know, let the taxpayers know that 70% of the town budget comes from secondary homeowners.
I mean, OJ, I mean, that last year was great. I know.
That's so damn important that
Mhm.
when I tell people that fact, they say, "What?" I say, yeah, the guy that's here 5 weekends a year is paying 70%.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's important. And the other thing that we had talked about collectively, you know, was combining the custodial services for the various buildings, thinking that we might get another employee much cheaper than what we're paying out. What do we come out with? 70-something thousand dollars we're paying?
Probably
But
close
there's
to
too
it,
many
yeah.
hours.
Yeah,
If you add up the hours, because I did that, I looked into it.
yeah.
If you add up the hours that's spent cleaning the police department, the town hall, the library, the community center,
Mhm.
it's more than 40 hours a week. We need 2 employees.
Could you do it in 40 hours a week?
No. No.
I don't know.
It takes almost 4 hours a day to do the kitchen, the community center, and the childcare center, that whole building. Takes them almost 4 hours a day.
I mean,
More if they're polishing the floor.
yeah, I mean, the childcare center is probably a bulk of that, you know, right?
Really, they do a pretty good job keeping it. It's mopping is the big thing.
Yeah, but just
I
the
mean,
way.
yeah,
You know.
The mopping, the
cooking,
steaming,
generators.
and the way that because it's a community center, because you have senior citizens in there.
It's gotta be.
And children, and they're the
Mhm.
ASP, after-school program and whatnot. There's a lot of sanitary,
Oh, yeah.
sanitation
mean,
things that
yeah.
need to be done. So it's not just a go in there and wipe the counters off the floor. There's a
understand that.
lot of,
I mean, I think it's definitely something we could look, you know, I think we
Well, we
talked
saw
about it at the
the
last meeting, we
increase
would
of
look into it for, you know, potentially, you know.
What was the
This year.
increase we saw? $50 an hour, somebody was looking for.
They were asking for, like, I think it was $25 a day or $50 a day, not an hour, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, we spent a lot on cleaning, there's no doubt about it. Could we morph that into, you know, in today's day and age, are you gonna be able to morph that? If we spend 70K to clean, you see from that SRO position, it's really hard to get an employee for less than 100 grand.
Yeah.
yes.
If
And
you're
it's-
adding in
and-
retirement, I mean,
exactly.
retirement's much bigger.
Retirement for the police is crazy.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
it's 30
30.
something, yeah,
30.
33.
A third of their
Yeah.
wage again.
Mhm.
But with the cleaning we have now, we're not paying. You know, any retirement,
The
there's no
benefits.
benefits, there's no
Benefits,
health
no
insurance, there's no
taxes.
taxes, there's no anything,
Right.
right?
Right.
There's no workers' comp.
Also,
There's not-
what are the hours that they clean,
After 5 PM,
and what hours do they clean here?
after 5 PM.
Okay.
Mhm.
The downstairs is 24/7.
The library is also, I think they could do before 10 AM or after whatever, I forget the days now.
Yeah, and then
Well,
usually in the PD, I think they actually do it like on like Tuesday mornings, because it's the slowest time period for them, like they have the least amount of traffic in the downstairs at that time, so I think they do it.
Yeah, but it's like the ass crack of dawn.
No, she's usually here. I see her leave, so she
Oh,
probably gets
okay.
here early, but you
Yeah.
know, she's usually here, you know, probably leaves around 8 or 9, so I
Yeah,
see her.
5,
Yeah.
start at 5 or something, yeah.
So. But it's definitely something to look into, but I would think you'd be hard pressed to hire an employee under 100K, just with the benefit, I mean, maybe. With the benefits,
It'd
you
be
could-
damn close to it.
it would be at least 80.
It would be darn close to it, yeah.
Okay, now do we want to talk about the elephant in the room?
Well, we need to, are we voting to approve this budget and pass it to the budget committee? Because that needs to be a vote.
Well, let's talk about if there's gonna be a bond article for a town building on the warrant.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
That
that's
elephant.
it, that elephant.
Yeah.
Well, Al Pullen emailed all of us.
Can I have your numbers? Or a copy of your numbers?
I'm giving you all of this, but I want to, because
Okay,
the town building discussion's on the bottom of this. but
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't read the bottom.
You can read the bottom. You can read the bottom, we're at that point.
Thank you.
Before, I know Al made points, and some of these are good, but I guess I'd like to have the philosophical discussion first.
Okay.
Okay.
Whether we put the records in the basement or on the second floor. If we're not gonna build a building, it doesn't matter which of those is a better choice.
Agreed.
Um. From a business standpoint, I can't get through my head a $24 million building for a town like this. If you look at what our annual budget is and what that is in relation to it. You know, I look at this from like the water park perspective. If we were gonna spend 4 times our annual
Income.
Right, yeah.
operating
right.
on one ride that the guests can't even use. And I shouldn't say that. All of the people in town benefit from the fire and police, even though they don't physically enter the building.
Right.
Okay, it's like we don't let, I guess, in our pump house.
Right.
But without the pump
Pump
house.
house, you're not
You're not,
you
you're
don't-
not running water, right?
Okay, I shouldn't have made that, but anyway,
Right.
Just on a ratio basis, I just cannot get $24 million to my head.
I don't disagree. It's an enormous price tag, and I told them that from the get-go, that this was gonna be sticker shock. You know, this is going to be a stop, hold your horses type of number. But I think unless we decide to cut that building in half, and it's not, you're not gonna see a $10 million.
This is gonna be like our operating budget. There are some things that can be cut out of there, but you're not cutting the insurance, you're not cutting the employees, you're not, that's the same thing. There's a lot more can't come out to reduce the cost than what can come out to reduce the cost of that building. So if we're talking pennies, not dollars, when we are looking at $20 million. We're not gonna cut 4 million, we may cut 400,000. Do you know what I mean? So that's a hard one.
Well, I think
The
even
numbers,
think
the
cutting
number.
4 million, you're going from 24 million to 20, that's still a huge, that's still a huge.
Right. So last year, when I was looking at things, we were already on the list as an approved town, municipality for an $18 million grant that was available, that we didn't apply for because we didn't have the conceptual plans of the designs like we have now. We needed those to apply for those grants. I can't find it now, damn it. It's not on the list anymore. However, I'm not a grant writer. I'm not out there. We need a grant writer.
Agreed.
But I
sooner
also
rather
think
than
later to even just to know what's out there. If we get a hold of a grant writer and pay him a couple $100 for them to come back and say there aren't any,
Mhm.
well, then we know.
Mhm.
But if we pay him a couple $100 to come back and say, I can write these 12 grants for you for this amount of money,
Mhm.
and this is what you could get, we need to know that.
Right, but that also doesn't happen instantaneously,
We don't receive the grants instantaneously, no. However, we know that they're out there.
Sure.
So we can go to town meeting and say, we need X amount of dollars to come up with a final plan to build this $20 million building. And we're gonna pay this grant writer to apply for these, $18 million worth of grants. And then next year, we can come back and say, we received 16 million. We cut the cost by 4 million, we need to bond for, however you want, whatever the numbers are. That's how we need to build this building, because if we say right now, no. 20 million, 24 million, 20 whatever million is ridiculous, it's done, we're not even bringing it to the voters, we're not doing this. Now what? We have to
Get them
replace that police department. We cannot, there's too many walls that can't be moved or pushed or widened or shortened or whatever. They need a new facility. That one does not work anymore. It's unhealthy and it's unsafe. They cannot continue to use it. So we don't spend 24 million to get a building that's gonna be there for a minimum of 50 years for both departments. Now what? Now what do we do? Do we park mobile homes out there and stick them in a
There's a good
portable
idea.
parcel? You know what I mean? We are still
agree.
spending something.
I agree,
Well,
but
I don't even wanna scratch the surface, but I will. When we saw that $24 million price tag, I said to them, this is gonna have our brakes come to a screeching halt and they're gonna pivot to putting an addition onto this building. Doesn't solve all our problems. We still got a lot of parking. We got a lot, we got many issues in doing so. But would they be resolved? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but I think in my mind, that's where I went. I was like, that's not gonna happen. They're gonna want us to expand on here.
So what
As
did
an
we,
option.
what did we, pay the architects?
And I asked him that question. I said, what would it be for you to redesign this building with an addition? Now that we're already in the books with you guys, what's going on? And he said 20,000.
to redesign the building?
To come up with a
To
conception.
come up with a conceptual.
So how much plan?
I didn't get that.
Okay,
I got two conceptual.
okay.
See, I mean, that's.
So now what do we
that's
do with the
the-
fire department?
Now,
That's the
what do we do
conundrum
with
that we're
us? Yeah, I mean,
That we're under, I mean, I can't support obviously $24 million. I said that last year publicly at a town meeting and, people. took
I can if we get the grants.
No, huh?
I can if we get the grants.
Oh,
If we get an 18
if we
million
could,
grant,
if we could get an 18 million grant, I'd be willing to bond the balance of that, believe me, I would. But, reality of one 18 million grant is a lot of money. Like I said, I've written grants up to total of $20 million, 5 was the highest grant, but anyways. I think that, if we can get out there and get our name now that we've got conceptuals here and get on some list that monies are available either through the state and or the feds or combined USDA, whatever the case might be. I mean, we can support it, but to hit the taxpayers with that much, it ain't gonna work.
no
I've
question.
already been approached by other
No
people. I'm
question.
sure you folks have. What about our sewer system? What about, the septic, the sewer waters? I said, well, we're working on the water. We know sewer is gonna be a major issue down the road. What would you rather have? Well, I'd rather not have that goddamn smell that I smell going up and down. I mean, this was literally 3 days ago or 2 days ago after our meeting.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, that's where the townspeople are coming from, I believe. I mean, like you said, Tammy, and I've said it, and OJ has said it. I mean, the police and fire do a great job. I really appreciate what they do. But again, we have to think of the big picture, which is the taxpayers. That's our responsibility. Their responsibility is to fight fire and, serve the community with police services the best they can with what they have. I mean, we don't want them living out of cruises. We want them living in buildings or in buildings. And again, one of the things that people have approached me about is, oh, if we build that fire department and there's beds up there, who's gonna live there? Are we going to a full-time fire department? And I said, well, that's nothing that we're gonna
I
decide
think 50
today.
years from now, who knows?
Right, no, I said, that's not something today, but why build it and have it vacant at this point in time? I mean, there's all kinds of arguments, pro and con. And I'm going back as an elected official.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll listen to you, the taxpayer, you elected me, that's my job. I have my own opinion, but I
Right.
represent your opinion. I'll give my
Absolutely.
opinion, but I represent what the majority of folks say. So anyways, that's my feeling.
And, I realize that they're planning that for 50 years of usage. Without having to, expand it and break up the architecture and cost more to add on and on. But I also look at, like the locker rooms, it just to me is way more than this town needs at this point, and for me, at least the next 10 years. I don't see needing 3 bunk rooms. I don't see needing 4 different types of evidence.
Mhm.
Right now, we have a closet downstairs. That's our evidence room. And now we're gonna have 4 or 5 different
Yeah,
sections of
pointed
the
that-
evidence room.
pointed that out in my
different-
notes, yeah.
and some of the things, this is the way I look at it. I'm not a fireman, I'm not a policeman, I can't tell you which one of those things are important and which we should cross out. But I can tell you this, that they're functioning downstairs out of 5,500 square feet. If we gave them a 12,000 square foot building, that would more than double what they're in now. Now, you know, I know dispatch needs to be bigger, the patrolman's area needs to be bigger.
Storage needs to be bigger.
They have no locker room.
Yeah, it's used as storage.
They
correct?
have two bathrooms. That,
Anyway, I know that if we gave them 12,000 square feet. Okay, more than double their space. And if we did 12,000 square foot with a basement. You know, I mean, it's gonna be on, whatever we build, it's gonna be on a solid foundation, we'll have the basement accessible with a stairway. It certainly could be used for the.
two stairways and an elevator. We've got to build ADA, we can't just put a house, put them in a
Well, if
house.
a two-story building, let's just put an elevator in anyway.
Right,
so-
right.
So it's all ADA anyway,
Right,
to make a two-story elevator or a three-story elevator,
right, right. No, I agree.
it's not a big deal. But
Those were some of the notes that I made as well. I think.
I think if we built a 12,000 square foot building with a usable cellar basement. That would set us up for close to 20 years.
What do we do with the fire department?
I think the fire department. That to me is the tough one. I mean, the police are so crammed down in there. I don't see anything we can do to this building to make that better. If we add on our back, okay. Where are they gonna park? How are they gonna be secure? I mean, all the other questions, if we put it over there and we again limited to a 6,000 square foot. Footprint. With a second story and a usable basement. I think, I mean, I think that could be doable, and I'm just picking that 12,000 square feet out of the air.
Yeah, right.
They come back and say, well, we can do this building and it's 13,
Right.
whatever, it's,
Essentially, you're saying cut the building in half.
and then for the fire department. What are their immediate needs? I know that building needs a lot of work and I personally have like, let's not do too much to the building, 'cause
Yeah,
you might not
yeah,
need it
right,
any
yeah.
longer, well. What would it take to get the building?
It's not possible because there isn't space because of the addition to the library. They need another bay.
What about?
They need another bay. Behind you have a driveway, that you have the building, a driveway and the neighboring
There's-
property. There's no room to go back.
What about on the side? there
There's
with
no
the
room to go on the
parking?
side because that's where they park.
Yeah, but you know,
So do you have them ride a bicycle to
Comes
the
with-
fire department? Also the no parking.
All right, without solving the problem here. I would like to investigate all the ways we could add on to that building. To make it usable, or, I mean,
My suggestion was gonna say, they gave us a Cadillac. We'd like the Chevrolet, please. Can you go back to them and ask them to park the Cadillac in the garage and bring us a Chevrolet? We want something we can use. We want a pickup. We don't want,
what's the number?
all right, I wanna know what there is for grants out there. I am not a grant writer. The town of Lincoln needs to get a hold of a damn grant writer to find out what the possibilities are. If that $18 million grant is still out there, I want an $18 million building.
well, you know, before we go hiring grant writers, I mean. Karina can put that out to the New Hampshire Municipal Association. You know, ask, we're looking for sources for grants for public safety buildings. Have you received grant? I mean, it's a broad question to all the other town managers, town administrators, just to see where they've secured funds, because we know that a number of new public safety buildings have been built around here. You know, I think Ryan was going over to North Conway to.
I don't mind
Okay.
doing that, Jack, but I think it's gonna be a fruitless effort. I think when it comes to community buildings like this, I think we're gonna have a hard time procuring funds in our federal USDA funds, you know, something along those lines funds.
Right.
And I don't think we're gonna be getting these, I mean, maybe to outfit it, you know, where like we could get $100,000 to buy,
Oh, no,
you know,
I'm
that
sorry.
type of stuff, yeah.
Maybe I didn't say, but no, I'm talking about getting federal USDA.
Yeah,
grant.
I think we're gonna, I don't disagree with Tammy that if you wanna go down this grant route, we need a professional grant writer who
No
writes federal grants.
Right.
Because they're not $18 million. again, we may be on the list of municipalities that qualify because we're low, they consider us low to moderate income, but that's still a competitive grant that we're gonna have to
Yes.
apply for, and we're not gonna be the only low to moderate income, community applying for it. So I think if we're gonna go, and I think we also need to consider too, if we are going down that route, a lot of these federal grants want to see a match. They want to see that you already have cash in hand for this project, because they're not gonna give you a $18 million grant or even a $5 million grant with a 10% match, 25% match, if you
Right.
don't have that in the bank. You have to have money in the bank for them to even take you seriously. Because they're gonna say, we're gonna give you this money, but you don't, like, that's kind of what happened with the House appropriation in Annie Custer's office, is that they were gonna give us $1 million, but then they said, but you don't have any money to do this project, you don't even have a plan in place, you don't have a square footage, a cost, we were premature.
Right.
We were hoping for it, but if we don't have those things in place, a grant isn't an option either, we have to have some of those things in place. It doesn't make the decision easier.
Even if we get a grant, we don't need this Cadillac.
No, and I don't want to blame LBA.
No, no.
That's what they were presented. We want a $29,000,
Yeah.
square foot building with
Yep. They
this
wish
and
list
this and
they came
this
up
and
with it.
this, and that's how they,
Oh, no question.
They
Yeah.
did what they were asked.
they did what they were asked to do, and I laughed on Monday night because they kept using the Taj Mahal thing, and that's something that I felt like I said very early on a bunch of times, like, we're not building the Taj Mahal, but I think they think we're not building the Taj Mahal, but I think they don't realize that we think they're building the Taj Mahal. So I don't know what the answer is. Is it
I'm not
a
gonna vote to
redesign?
bring a $24 million bond even to the budget committee. I mean, because I think there's a 0% chance that it will pass. And I think it makes us look stupid. Bringing 24 million, I mean, I can't see anyone at that meeting voting for it.
So we just drop it.
No,
So we
We-
do what?
I would propose that we look at how we can build a 12,000 square foot police department on that same piece of land at
And
a
what
cost,
about the fire
in a
department?
cost of, at a cost of $7 million, and bring that to the town this year. And simultaneously look at the fire department for either how to add on to that building, or how to build a second building that would be an auxiliary building.
I think that you're not gonna get a $7 million project anywhere today, even with a 12,000 square foot building. I think if you look at phase one, just if you look at when they just did the PD, I know you're talking about reducing that size no matter what, but if you're looking at when they said just the PD was what, 17?
Mhm.
Even if you cut that, you're not gonna get down to 7, you're gonna get down to 12.
Well, yeah.
I think,
I was using their $600 a square foot. I used their number.
okay,
Yeah, that's where you come up with.
Okay.
12,000 square foot building,
7 million.
and it's not gonna cost any more than that to put a basement in with a stairway
2 stairways and an elevator.
that they can use for, again, the storage, the evidence, the locker rooms, the stuff like that.
I mean, I'm fine with going back and saying, let's redesign this, but that's also gonna cost money. That's not gonna, they're not gonna do that for free. And
I think we have to decide what we want, what we can afford, and then hire someone to design
to
it.
redesign it.
Because unfortunately, I think this was kind of a waste of money. I mean, that's, there's no way we're gonna build it. I mean, I don't know. If we said, we said to the police, okay, $7 million building is, if we bonded it, is gonna take our current annual debt, long-term debt budget is $571,000. Okay, that's what we're gonna spend in debt, that's what we spend in debt this year.
Mhm.
Okay, If we take out a bond for $7.2 million, we're gonna double that. Now, can we afford to do that? That's a tight squeeze, but we need to do something for the police, so I would say yes. But I don't think we can do more than that. I mean,
What's $1 million? $1 million about $1 on the tax rate, right, for you guys? Roughly,
yeah,
yeah. Right,
no, because we're just the town, that's just the town portion.
where's our total?
What the tax rate setting stuff, so we could do the math.
Those numbers in front of the total assessed value, right? 1.25.
1.25.
Well. And then what, so, and then are you adding in 1.2 for the FD?
That was my thought. I just pulled that number, like. What are the aspects of the new fire department that we need? First of all, we need to fix up the building that we have.
Right.
But then we need one more bay. Is that correct?
At a minimum, man, one more bay.
And, I know that there was a need for that. Locker room.
They need
Washing.
they need better facilities in that sense. I mean, they don't have working showers
Right,
currently,
right.
they don't have.
And even the working, if the shower worked and it was a working shower, it's not adequate.
It's not adequate,
No.
no, and there's no separation for men and
No,
female.
we need locker rooms, changing rooms, and we need a place where they can take the gear off and clean it,
Right,
so that they're not bringing it home and putting it in there.
Right,
right,
Etc.
they
Yeah.
locker rooms. Yeah, you need a room to walk in and take your dirty stuff off and put it in the extractor and do all that. And then into the locker room to shower, dress.
Woodstock has functioned for years with a remote fire station
A
down.
lower fire station.
Yeah. What if we had an upper fire station up on Route 3?
Where?
On the town-owned land where the state shed is.
The oldest building in town?
Yep.
You want to tear down the oldest building in
They
town?
keep that. We've leased that out for
Right.
long term,
Right,
in front of that.
which eliminates their parking.
It eliminates their parking, but that's not what they needed for. They need to store the groomer and their
Right, right,
tools
right,
and
right,
their
right,
signs and,
Right,
the parking is a little extra income. But
right.
Where's that exactly? Okay,
up on Route 3,
yeah,
The old salt shed.
the old salt shed where the snowmobile club is.
across from Indian Head, from down.
No.
No, it's before the whale's tail, before my
Oh.
house. It's right after you go by, the roadway in,
Yeah,
and then there's a house.
yeah.
And then there's the salt shed that
Oh,
sits
okay.
way back from the road.
Then there's.
And there's a
Snowmobile shop.
whole bunch of snowmobiles and trailers sitting in front of it that
Oh,
they.
yeah, I know.
pay to
Okay.
park.
I thought that was privately owned.
No,
No, we leased that.
Oh, okay, no, I did not. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Again, that's just an idea. What if we put the 2-bay thing up there, but I put it to one side or the other. So that the groomer can get out of the barn and go by the shed and all that. I mean, I'm just thinking, there's gotta be something else we could do. And I threw $1.2 million at that, so let's take out an $8.4 million bond. And do those two projects.
And that goes all the way through the property. Goes,
It will to through the Hanson Farm, it does. I mean, they could make more space, use of the space behind the shed.
Mhm.
If they did that, I
Right,
would
that's
want
what I was
a
thinking.
fence. So that, it makes it look good for the neighbors behind there. Which I can't see it from my house, so it's no. I have no.
Do they have it? Could we give them a driveway off of Hanson? So that you can literally separate the property, so the fire department, it can be secure? Do you know what I mean?
We could, but, we don't want the groomer driving up Hanson Farm Road to the, to my house, so basically.
Yeah, that's true.
They got to shoot right across Route 3 and they start grooming right there,
Yeah, yeah.
but. That's just one idea. And again, would have to be another building. We'd have to heat it minimally. I mean, you can't, on a day like today, you can't go to start up a fire truck and. Yeah,
So that lower fire station they have down there, I believe, trying to remember, the other time I've been down there was like the Easter egg hunt stuff. I know there's bathrooms. I know there's a small kitchen.
Would we keep this location as well?
yeah, I'm just saying,
Upgrade this,
park one truck. Fucking the rest, whatever.
yeah,
Let them figure out, park a couple of vehicles up in Route 3. And make
and then
this,
fix this building.
right, and you could even take a portion of a bay or the whole bay or something and turn that into. Regular sized locker rooms with laundry facilities and
Yeah.
lockers to put stuff in and.
Mhm.
Make this usable. Then add
Yeah, a substation.
I'd also look at adding on to this building. Like, can we come right out to that, to this edge? Right up to where you park and still not lose the parking, but just have less grass there, really.
Yeah,
Could
probably
you put
6 or 7 feet
an
there.
extension on the back of the building? And still get a car to be able to get by? Maybe it doesn't have to be two-way traffic.
I don't think it is now.
I just like to look at the.
I think it's
the
the
options.
driveway into the handicap entrance and exit for the
Library.
library, correct?
Could I make a suggestion
Yeah.
then? A great idea. Maybe talk with Ron and Ryan and get their input, yays, nays, pros, cons. Things that maybe you haven't thought about, we haven't thought about, what have you, and just see how they would feel about that.
Yes, I definitely want to get their input.
Yeah,
We can't sit here and make a financial decision that
Right.
it doesn't work, but. $24 million doesn't work.
no, so I think the decision that the board needs to make is like, so what does this mean for town meeting? Does this, I mean, this obviously, to build a new building, to add an addition, to build 2 new buildings potentially, right? A substation and a new police and fire, and then renovate this building. Right?
Yes,
That needs to all be,
And then this building is also gonna need to be renovated so that the town office can utilize the space downstairs because they're bursting at the seams here. Especially with storage.
and doing all this
So we're
requires
spending 20
someone.
million anyway.
I don't know if we're spending 20 million, but it also needs to be established by a contractor or a designer or an architect, we still gotta pay to get
We're a
to
long way
even that point. So. Are we just saying,
If
let's
we
raise
go back
funds to
to.
design something or investigate a better design?
To tone it down. Is that still covered under the current contract?
I think so, yeah, but I think,
So we've already paid this money. We can get them to tone this down, bring it down, knock a few $100 million off the
Right.
price. And it's not gonna cost us any more money.
I can't say that definitively. I said that I think we could tell them what we're thinking, but they may say, okay, this is a total redesign and we want.
I don't want a total redesign. I don't want a total redesign. I want it a basement and I want the building smaller.
Sure. Might
There's a
cost us
lot
a
of
little
things we
bit
don't
more
need.
money, but I
We
don't
don't
think it's
need
gonna
three
cost us
rooms.
80 grand.
We don't need 3 bunk rooms. Maybe
Okay,
one
if-
with a set of bunk beds.
if we're gonna go back to them, I want to go through this and cross stuff out.
Okay.
But I still don't, I wonder if we go back to them and say, this is the number. You have $24 million. We can bring
We
it
want,
to
we
10.
want a third of that.
We
want
want
10.
10.
Less.
Because
We want
I think it's gonna be a short conversation. I think they're gonna say, yeah, well,
you live by that motto, though, good isn't cheap and cheap isn't good. I mean, you know, you just ask them to
You
knock
get what you pay
prices
for.
off. Then the materials they're gonna use, I mean, they'll make standards, but they won't be, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I can go back to them and say, we need to cut this price in half. We need a $12 million building.
Yeah.
Not a 24, just to tell them what we're working with. This is realistically.
Yeah.
This is out of the wheelhouse. And see what they say, but then we're gonna get to, okay, even if we get to there, we still need money to design it and.
I still like to know what's out there for grants. Not ones we're gonna get or can get, or I don't wanna apply for them yet. I just wanna know what's out there. I'm not a grant writer, I'm not a grant person. I've looked, and there are some. There are millions of dollars worth of grants out there. Will we qualify under all the specs? I don't know, because there are pages, I don't get paid to do that. You know what I mean? That's not my job. A grant writer would know.
So are we raising and appropriating funds then to just do designs again?
This is already paid for. If we can get them to tone this way down. That's already paid for. That's not gonna hurt anything.
No, it's not gonna hurt anything, but then we're still, you're missing.
What number you're looking for when you say tone it down, though, Tammy, because still, you know, we've gotta go to get monies approved. And it ain't gonna happen this year.
I said, yeah, I think even going to the town with an $8 million bond is not gonna pass this year. I mean, you know this town better than I do, so I can't, you know, but.
No, I wouldn't vote for
No,
that anyway.
so
I wouldn't
then
know what
what's,
we can get for funding.
then
for it.
what's the next step then?
I mean, especially,
You know, then what's the
That's
next step
great.
at town meeting?
I tell you what I'll do, Tammy, this week. I think my schedule will be teaching at 1 o'clock today. So I will search for some grants. And
there's some out there. I did
no,
some
no,
searching too.
I'll see specifically, and I'll talk with a couple of people at the federal level in the different offices. Get some contacts at different offices, not only here, but in Massachusetts, and see what is, you know, available
That we qualify for.
that we would qualify.
Right,
And we're in a unique situation because the population is X today, but tomorrow, you know, we've got 8,000.
well, we go, it's on our permanent
Summer is the same
residence.
way. No,
And we're not
exactly.
a high,
No, we
No.
definitely, we're
We're
the low,
Right.
the
Our
LMI
census
is
tract.
we fall below it, and therefore
Yes.
we're eligible for
more than.
more than, right,
Yeah.
A census tract that
Ah.
shows poverty. So it's not high income.
but. Again, but even if we go back to LBA and say, cut this in half, make this a $10 million building, we're thinking about moving the fire department over here, I mean, that's still all. We're gonna look at grants next year, we still gotta make a decision on if. And what we're doing for town meeting this year, right?
Yep, I don't think, I'm not ready to make that decision today. But I think.
And we don't have to make it today,
No.
but it's,
You know. Ultimately, we have until the last budget committee meeting to figure this all out.
right,
I'm gonna be comfortable with that.
No,
but,
right.
You know,
Technically,
rather
yes.
than the last meeting, we had it at the bond hearing, we could go forward, but
mhm,
I would like to meet with the. Fire officials,
mhm.
police. And see if like. If they can agree on at least the police department on a space requirement.
Mhm.
Because I think we could build a building for $600 a square foot,
Yeah, I mean, those are current cost estimates,
okay,
right?
they said
right,
it was
square
gonna
foot, right.
cost. And. You know, that included. Parking and driveways and I think we could. We could make a building that would last certainly 10 years. As it is with 12,000 square feet. And then maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now, if we have a bigger department or overnight people, or what we can add on to it then.
Do we want to I mean. Do we want for our January 3rd meeting, we're meeting at 4:30 that afternoon before the budget committee? Do we want to invite the police and fire in to have a conversation like this, or do you want to do it before then?
I want to do it before then.
Okay,
Yeah, and again, you know. I wouldn't mind if you want to meet informally with them, you know, just say, hey, chief, can I come in? Ron, can I come in? You know, you as the chairman here, and then bring that
I think we
discussion
need
back
to
to
keep
us.
it in public.
I'm sorry, what?
I think we need to keep it in public.
What do you mean speak? This is how I see it happening. Someone, and I'm fine to do it,
We have like a little work session.
just sit down with the chief of police or the chief and deputy and say. This is what we're thinking.
Mhm.
Do the same thing with the fire chief and deputy. This is what we're thinking. Give them some time to come up. They're gonna have better ideas than we do. Okay, I
They
can't
live it.
tell you
Well, and they're gonna know realistically what they need.
what they need and what they can do without, like, okay. We can't afford to build 5 different evidence rooms.
Right,
If
right.
we build-
Right,
If you
right.
have a basement in the cellar, can you?
We don't
split it
need
up?
3 break rooms.
Okay,
Right, no.
so.
Share some stuff.
Figure out that kind of stuff. All right,
You know, once you've shown them Perry, how do you keep it down on the farm? I mean, they've seen Perry here,
um,
24 million dollars.
and
I know, we have 6 evidence.
then we can have a public. At a selectmen's meeting, discussion about some of their ideas. I'm not trying to do this in hiding, but I
No,
want to
right.
give them
No,
time to discuss it.
Yeah.
In their, you know.
Yeah.
They're the ones with the knowledge that they can come and say, look, we have to have this, we can't do this, you know.
Right.
Mhm.
We can make this work for that.
You know, I didn't even think about what Chad mentioned the other night, you know, people tapping on his window and I'm thinking. Holy shit, that's probably not very safe at all.
It's not. I mean,
Okay, and
this
yet,
isn't-
and yet.
Right.
You know, there's a hotel right behind his office.
Well, and we are constantly are getting people driving in here, stopping, turning around because they don't realize it's police only, and then they get jammed up and they don't know what to do, and this location is not a great location for them in its current, you know, configuration, right? Okay, so are you gonna take that task on? I mean,
I'll
okay.
talk with the.
So then you'll find out what their
Box.
musts and their must nots are, and we give that back to these and have this fixed. I shouldn't say fixed, because this is a fantastic
I,
Taj Mahal
yeah,
that we don't need.
I would say step one is, let's get them to think
Right.
about what can be done.
Mhm.
Then we'll come back and we'll make a decision at that point, because if they come back and say, oh, we can cut,
I
you know,
just,
26 square feet out of this 30,000 square foot building, we're wasting our
Right.
time.
I
Let's
just
see what
want to
they say.
know, I mean, we paid for this.
Right,
And this is a conceptual design. We're not liking the concept.
Mhm.
We still own this. There should be some redesign be able to be negotiated. And we want a basement. Can you add a basement?
Oh, there's
That-
definitely some reason,
that
that's
stuff.
why they want our
Right,
feedback. That's why they want our
exactly.
feedback.
So I don't want to just throw this away and go, we're not building.
I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, let's just take step one,
Okay,
bring them back in and have a discussion,
Right,
and cumulatively, we can figure out what we want to exactly say to that
because
term.
if we, if they
term.
come back and say, well, with the redesign, with getting rid of the Taj Mahal and just parking the Cadillac and pulling the Chevy pickup out, we can do this for 12 million. Well, there's your 7 million for one building for them. And another million or so to build an annex of the fire department, another million or so for that. So we're getting closer anyway, that might be more reasonable. That's kind of my thinking with that whole.
Yeah.
But I don't want to just throw that away because we can still.
no,
Wait, I'm saying,
throw it away.
put it aside for now, and let's work on getting input from the 2 departments.
Nothing's going to
I
time.
think they would rather have new and improved facilities.
I think they want a new building no matter what it looks like, whether it's.
I mean, the police department is just.
I don't think it's the want.
It's not,
I
they
think
need.
a
they-
front building,
I
regardless.
correct myself.
Yeah.
They need.
They do.
They need a better facility.
They do, and they need one, not where the
Right.
local hotels are gonna be knocking on the windows.
But we need to, right, I get it, so. Yes, they need, we
Okay.
need to have a more realistic view of, we want something that gets approved. We don't want something that we're gonna have to fight for the next 10 years, right? That's the goal, right? To get a new building and have it be economically achievable in this community in the next, you know, 5 years, right? So, we gotta, you know, scale our expectations.
absolutely.
All right, I will
Okay,
you.
arrange to meet.
sure, and if
You
you,
said Ryan's on vacation.
Ryan's on vacation, yeah,
Till,
until, yeah, first of the year.
Okay, so I'm just gonna meet with Ron.
Sure, but he also said he's around, he said, if we have anything, you have a call, I'm sure he'd sit down for an hour with you. 'Cause
Oh, he's not going away.
he's not going away, he's just has a bunch of time that he needs to take, because he's got a lot
Okay.
left
Use it
over.
or lose it, yeah,
I won't talk about personal stuff.
Okay.
vacation time, it's not sick days,
Yeah. No, but his wife is pregnant.
Yes.
How, what is that?
that's public knowledge.
I know, but when?
They put it
when
on
is
Facebook.
Next
Oh,
year,
that's true. When is it? June?
June. yeah.
Okay, I say, because.
No, he's got, no, but he just
It's
has
like, okay, he's not that far.
he's
along.
only
Isn't
taken,
it
like,
paternity.
4 days or a vacation this whole year or something strange like that, so he
Right,
had,
no, he needs-
he had a surplus at the end of the month, so he said, take
No
some days off.
Is it use
Yeah.
it or lose it?
It is use it or lose it,
Right.
he can carry over, like a limit,
Yeah.
a certain number of days.
Yeah.
But
We
he's
didn't
got-
want to make it, we changed this policy a few years ago. Because, some people want to take a January, February vacation, well, they haven't accrued enough in
Yeah,
February to take a week off.
Right.
But then we also had people who carried like weeks.
weeks over.
And we said, we can't do that, you know?
No,
So yeah, so he's out, but like I said, he's around, so I'm sure he would meet with you for an hour or stop by, I mean, he's sure he's gonna stop by town hall, because he's
All right,
just.
then I will work to do that.
Okay,
right.
So,
and he's gotta go out on a fire call, so.
so for the rest of
That's
the,
it, just pull the fire alarm, he'll show up.
rest of the budget, we're all set?
Think so.
All right, so this is one outstanding item and it's just a little one.
Right, and I'll tweak those numbers, I'll get confirmation from DRA exactly how the budget should look and read and warrant articles and whatnot, so we know that we're calculating it correctly.
All right, I've got to keep the most current version. Which is what you
That's what
just
I'm
gave
doing, and
me,
I'm making my notes that need to be made up.
and this is the most recent one behind that. This is the old one that's now 2 editions old.
I had to do that this morning, I was like, okay, get my edits, put them in a folder, put them somewhere else, because I like to keep them just for reference, but I don't need them on my desk intermingled with the current stuff. All right, are we good? Are we adjourning or?
No.
Okay,
I would like to make a motion to go into non-public to discuss an issue that relates possibly to the reputation of a citizen of this town. And wanted,
Not a member of this board.
not a member of this board, of someone who.
I'll second.
A comment that was made at a public meeting. I want to at least discuss that without harming anyone's reputation.
okay.
So I don't know what, that's 91A.
Reputation is C,
C,
yes.
I'll believe you. So that's the
Second,
motion I
is it
make.
Ken?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.